All right. We should be live. We are good to go. I'm just going to pop up the chat really quickly. Again, still trying to get this shit down. So with that being said, hopefully you guys are having a killer Saturday so far. What I want to do today, I'm just going to be a little bit mellowed out day when it comes down to RuneScape. Just doing a little bit of agility. Need to get that skill up. And just answering some questions. I put up a poll on Instagram, had some awesome questions there. And then if you guys pop in here, just feel free to ask away. What I want to do with these is, again, just go a little bit more in depth. I feel through Instagram, TikTok, you have about a minute to rip some stuff, and usually it doesn't get into the nitty gritty that, you know, somebody probably needs for themselves, and this right here allows me to go a little bit deeper and give those answers to you guys, right? So with that being said, let's get this going real quick. I have some of the questions up on the side, which I will have right here on top, just so I could read off of them and also just kind of answer them for you guys. Let me see here. Boom. Beautiful. Let's get this going. Need to get this up to probably 75. I want to start doing serve. So the other day I was doing a little bit of serve on here and managed to get it down the day after. So I'm in a pretty good spot with the ghost now. Want to grind it out. Definitely know I need to get at least 75 agility so I can use the summer pie for that. Once I use the summer pie, I should be able to get through the 80 agility, which 80 agility shortcut, which will make everything a lot easier. And then we can grind it out. I got a Primordial too. I absolutely spooned on this account. I think it was like 36 KC. So super stoked about that. Definitely added a ton to the bank right there. Got myself some prims. Account is looking pretty fucking beefy. So super happy with how everything's been pretty much moving within the account. Moving on to some of the questions though. So I have a really good one right here, which is going to be, how do you find your maintenance calories if you are completely new? So when it comes down to it, I think a lot of people, when they're trying to find their calorie intake, protein, or macros just as a whole, they tend to go on to Google and they're going to go look up a macro calculator. Off these macro calculators, you know, you're going to put in your height, your weight, you know, age, activity level, and from there it's going to give you some numbers. With these numbers, the big thing that I want you guys to remember is these are just averages, right? Any formula, any calculator that you use, it's just going to be an average. And you know, the reason why I say that is because people have, you know, different kind of metabolisms. There's people that have an adaptive metabolism. There's some people that have a fast and other people that have a slow metabolism. So, you know, it's not taking into account some of those things. And when you start tracking consistently for a while, you're able to figure out, you know, where you fall when it comes down to how your metabolism runs. So the way I like going about this for most people when it comes down to finding their maintenance calories is getting a week of data. So I'm going to ask them to track everything for a whole week. Everything that goes into their mouth, right? We want to make sure all the little snacks, the bites, everything that you're having on the side that most times that you don't think about, like, we want to include that in there because that is going to give us, you know, the total calorie intake that we're having, right? So once we have enough data, once we have those 7 days tracked, what we're going to do there is we're going to average it out. So from there, if somebody was eating around like, you know, 2,000 to 2,500 calories and they were going, you know, around that, what I would do is I would put them probably right in the middle, 2,300. I know that they can hit it because they've already hit 2,500 calorie days, right? So I'll put them right in the middle. When it comes down to protein, I mean, I'm pretty close to where they're at. So say, for example, we have somebody that, you know, is about like 200 pounds. When you look at their frame, it's 160 pounds of muscle. So we want to go for 160 grams, you know, of protein, right? Because we're going 1 gram per lean tissue. So say they're at 120, but we know we have to get them up to 160. So if we notice that, you know, his average is 120, cool. Then we're going to bump it up a little bit. We're going to move it up to 130 or 135, right? And we're going to set those calories. Once he becomes consistent with those calories and he becomes consistent with that protein intake, and we start seeing how the body starts adapting, then we can adjust a little bit, right? If they're dropping weight pretty quickly, then we obviously know that we have to bring calories up a little bit higher because they're in a pretty deep deficit, right? If they're dropping weight slow but steadily, then we can keep them there, and we can keep just seeing the biofeedback, how their body's adapting. And if we need to move calories up, then we'll move them up, right? But what I'm doing here is I'm waiting to see how the body's responding to every single adjustment, and I'm trying to bring their calories up, because most times people that come into the program aren't going to be eating 2,300 calories. They're going to be eating somewhere around like 1,400 or 1,500. So when someone's at 1,400 or 1,500, what we want to do there is we want to keep bumping those calories up around, once every 4 to 6 weeks. Again, giving the body some time to adjust, right? And then from there, continue bringing their calories up. Once they get to a place where they're no longer gaining or losing weight, we know that's their maintenance. So from there, once we have the maintenance, if we want to go into a cutting phase, beautiful, we can go into a cutting phase, right? But the biggest thing here that we're doing is, again, one, meeting the person where they're at, right? So we're not doing big increments. I'm not going from 1,400 to 2,400, because that would be a lot of food. They would struggle eating all of that. And we want to make this a little bit easier and very attainable, almost gamify it, right? Little small tasks. And throughout it, what we're doing is we're building the skill set of being adherent just to the calories and the protein, or the macros as a whole. So, through that time, they reverse their calories, they got themselves back to a maintenance, they set themselves up for a fat loss phase, and they also develop the skills of being adherent to what we're doing, right? So that's the way I love going about it, because again, it teaches you all the skills that you need. And once you get yourself to that spot, you're good to go, right? If you want to go into a fat loss phase, all you're doing here is eating less food and implementing a little bit of cardio. That's really it. So awesome way to find your maintenance calories right there. Let me see here. I'm also going to post this on my Instagram. If you guys don't follow me on Instagram, make sure that you do. I drop a lot of good stuff on there. Also, I do have a Discord. I am going to post it down at the bottom if you guys want to join. That Discord is going to be a lot of kind of what I'm doing here. It's just a lot of free value, really diving into deeper stuff. And, as soon as you join the Discord, you get access to a course I've actually built for clients. So that course is going to teach you everything that you really need to know. What's protein, what's carbs, what's fats, going through a cutting phase, going through a reverse phase, growing phase, all that stuff, structuring your programs. What I want to do with that Discord is really give you no reason to not be successful within your journey. Like, we're here to help each other grow. We're here to make sure that we're just well equipped to take this shit on, right? So guys, if you haven't joined the Discord, trust me, you're missing out on a lot if you aren't. Keep running over my cable. Perfect. That should be golden. Live Q&A. Perfect. All right, we're all set there. But we'll make sure I put the Discord down at the bottom for you guys. Then I have minimum amount of days at the gym for still amazing results. So I'll be honest with you guys, you really don't have to work out a lot. I think a lot of people get really dragged in on trying to do as many days as possible because they think more is better. A lot of times more is not better, right? Especially with training. So, when you're training hard, you're accumulating a lot of stress, which is something that, needs to be mitigated. So, I always recommend starting off with 2 or 3 days. I have clients that work out 3 times a week and they are seeing phenomenal results, right? And the reason why they're seeing phenomenal results is because everything else is locked in. So, stress is minimized, sleep is good, training is amazing, nutrition is phenomenal. They're checking off all the boxes. So they can get away with a little bit of training days. That's really all you need. As you get more advanced, as you build more muscle, you can definitely bring up the volume, because you will need more volume in order to grow. Once you become more of an intermediate experienced lifter, it'll really come down to that, right? Biggest myth in training you can think about. Let's see here. That is actually a good one. So I'm gonna move some stuff. I'm just shifting so the screen looks a little bit better here. I need to figure out the settings on these screens before I start going live. That way everything could be solid. Let me see, unlock, move that over here. Perfect, should be golden there. Cool. So biggest myth when it comes down to it, training, I would probably say the rep scheme. When I first got into fitness, it was always like, okay, if you want to build strength, you have to do lower reps. If you want to build muscle and you want to, do muscle hypertrophy, then, you want to stick within a 8 to 12 rep range. And then if you're looking at muscle endurance, then you're looking at, higher rep range. So I think the biggest myth was just the fact that, we believed 8 to 12 was like a magic rep range, and in reality it isn't, right? So what I've learned over the years is when it comes down to building muscle, it comes down to the mechanical tension that we're placing onto the muscle itself, right? So this can be done with lower reps, this can be done with higher reps, this could be done with 8 to 12 reps, right? And when we're looking at mechanical tension, the simplest way that I can put mechanical tension is think about it as a pulling force as your muscles are shortening. So think about doing a bench press. So when you're benching up, right, your muscles are shortening there, and you're going to notice as the set continues, the first rep is going to fly, second rep is going to be a little bit harder, right? Third rep a little bit harder. Once you're, rep 7, 8, 9, you're going to notice that it really slows down. No matter how much harder you try to push, that rep isn't going to move any faster. That right there in that moment is when you are, recruiting the most mechanical tension. That's what we need in order to build muscle, right? And we can do that within any rep range, right? Normally we do want to stay a little bit above 5. Just because anything below that's going to be a little bit harder to kind of get that mechanical tension, right? But if we're keeping again, a little bit above 5 and we're reaching that point, we're going to be building muscle, right? So again, we can do this with the low rep range, even with the high rep range. With the high rep range, the one thing that we do have to watch out for is the fatigue that we are actually accumulating during it, because if you're doing higher rep sets, you're accumulating more fatigue, which can bleed into the next set, which is the only thing that, we want to be careful about and we want to pay attention to. But if you're taking care of that, taking good enough rest periods, you're going to be okay. Another thing that really comes into play here too is motor recruitment. So the way I like to think about it with motor recruitment is when you're doing high reps, you are going to be engaging some of the muscle fibers. And when some of those muscle fibers start really fatiguing, then we're going to start recruiting the rest of the muscle fibers in that muscle to, kind of finish out those reps. So we're not accumulating all of it in one go. When we're going with heavier weight, we're going to use more motor recruitment because we're pushing heavy weight. We need more of that off the rip than we do with lower reps. So I tend to stay anywhere from like 6 to like 12 reps when it comes down to muscle hypertrophy. But again, it isn't a magical number. It's just what I find I can really get the most mechanical tension with, and I like having sometimes 6 reps and just going really, really heavy with it, right? I'll probably say that's the biggest myth. Best advice for fat loss. Fat loss. So I love that you put fat loss here, not weight loss. So when it comes down to fat loss, a lot of times we immediately think cardio. So I would say if you're really looking for fat loss, oh, here comes my cat. If you're really looking for fat loss, I would really focus on the nutrition side as well as making sure you're doing resistance training. And the reason why I would pair these two above cardio is because when you're looking at, building more muscle, your body is going to need to burn more calories on a day-to-day basis because you simply have more muscle on your frame. So your maintenance calories are going to be higher than someone with less muscle, which means fat loss is going to be a little bit easier for you, right? So muscle hypertrophy, so resistance training is something that we're going to want to have in there. And then nutrition is going to be the most important, right? When we're looking at fat loss, nutrition is key. And what we want to do here is we want to put ourselves in a calorie deficit. So like I mentioned before, after finding your maintenance calories, what you can do there, you can start putting yourself in a calorie deficit. So for example, if your maintenance calories were, 2,300, dropping that first initial drop, you can do anywhere from, about 300 to 400 calories, right? I would probably do 300 in this situation. And then within that, you'd be in a fat loss phase. Your maintenance calories are 2,300. That's what you need on a day-to-day to burn. And if you're eating below that, your body is going to start burning body fat. You're going to tear away a little bit of muscle, but if you're having high protein, a lot of it is going to be fat. So you pair those two together, you keep your adherence high, you're going to be golden. It's pretty simple. I think when it comes down to fat loss, it's really getting the skills down first, right? So learning how to track, learning how to be adherent to that, right? If you can be adherent to the diet and you can be adherent to, 2 to 3 training days, you're golden, right? Develop those skills, become super, super consistent with them. And then fat loss is just eating less food and implementing a little bit of cardio there. Quick and easy protein suggestions. Ooh, Trader Joe's is the GOAT for this. Trader Joe's has these teriyaki breast, and they take me about like 10 minutes to cook. They're amazing. Really, really good on protein. I usually have 2 servings. It's a little bit higher on fat because it is dark meat. I think for the 2 servings is about 18 grams of fat, 56 grams of protein. So pretty solid meal there. They also have salmon. They have little packs of it. Sometimes I do that in the morning whenever I want to just get a quick snack. So I'll do a bagel, throw some of that on there, and then just kind of move on. Protein shakes are amazing. And let me see, what else can I think of? There's also Costco. Costco has real good chicken breast. Air fry those for like 15 minutes, and then you can make some really good chicken sandwiches. I usually just get some buns, light mayo. If you guys are pickle fans, I got you guys. What is it? I'm blanking on it right now. I'm gonna find this. I'm gonna post it. There's some pickles that are Famous Dave's. They have some pickles that have like little kind of like, it's fire on there, but it's not like as a super dark label. Those are amazing. I throw some of that on there. A little bit of the Chick-fil-A sauce, the sweet and sour, I believe, and call it a day. Amazing meal. Not even close. I definitely need to squeeze a little bit of agility in there. I need to get to 75 for serve, and then I still don't even have full graceful. I just have, I think I'm missing the gloves, and then I'm still missing the legs. I've been putting this shit off. Like I hate agility. Like it's one of those things that I'm just like, I don't want to spend my time clicking rooftops, but this right here, it's beautiful because it's low focus and I can answer questions pretty in depth. So that's probably what I'll be doing for agility. Whenever I'm doing live Q&As, I'll definitely be getting this up a little bit. This is just such a tedious skill. Let's see. Should I remove carbs while cutting? I mean, if you like them, no. If you don't like them, then yeah. You know, when it comes down to it, carbs aren't bad. It's definitely going to be the macronutrient that I'm going to be dropping the most after I've gotten fats into a good spot. But you know, carbs are good. You know, there's a reason why when I give my clients refeed days, you know, I tell them focus on high protein, high carb, right? So carbs are going to help, you know, fuel your muscles with glycogen. Whenever we break down carbs, they get stored in the muscle, or they get broken down to glucose. If they don't get used there and then, they'll get stored in the muscle as glycogen, and then we can use that later for energy. So it's actually really amazing to have carbs like pre and post workout, because one, they're going to help fuel your workout, but two, when we eat carbs post workout, what this does is it helps us go into a parasympathetic state, which is pretty much means like rest and digest for us, right? So we're calming down our nervous system. When we're training, we're spiking our cortisol. So we want to bring that cortisol down, you know, as soon as we can, to go into that recovery mode, right? With eating carbohydrates and spiking in insulin, what that does is, since insulin and cortisol have an inverse effect, if insulin goes up, cortisol is going to start coming down, right? So this helps us go into that rest and digest state, and I would say keep them in there. And then, you know, once you get to really low calories, then, you know, you can definitely start bringing them down. Like I said, I would keep fats probably for females. I tend to see it's usually always around like anywhere from 50 to 70. Very, very rarely I'll bring them down past that. For males, I can probably bring them down like 40 and they'll still be okay. But once you get it there, then you can start bringing it down from carbs. And I would say too, as you get deeper in the cutting phase, what you could do here to help yourself out with satiety, just, you know, keeping hunger at bay, is bringing your protein intake up as you go through it, right? So I tend to keep clients' protein intake kind of average or a little bit below average whenever they're reversing or growing. That way, when we go into a cutting phase and hunger starts really spiking up, I can just bring their protein intake up. And I've been able to get people up to like 1.5 grams. They've had no issues with digestion or anything like that. And, you know, it kept them super full. So their adherence was just skyrocketed. They had no cravings, no hunger, nothing like that. So it was beautiful. That's a really good tip that you can definitely implement. I would have to do 2 hours of this for the next level. That is wild. What's up, man? Got my boy Thomas down here. See if I can get him up here. We got little Thomas here. What's up, man? He'll come in here, he'll bug me for like 2 seconds, and then he'll leave. Yeah, he just left already. I might also get this today. I got bursting tasks, so probably do that after this. Let's see. When should I start implementing cardio in a fat loss phase? Cool. Really good question here too. So this is the way I tend to kind of do fat loss phases, and it has worked really, really fucking well. So, again, with the first week, whenever they do start a cutting phase, what I'll do is I'll drop their calories. So once I drop their calories, I'm going to give it about 4 to 6 weeks. I'm going to see how their body is pretty much adjusting to that. If they're dropping weight pretty fast and there's no issues, then I'm going to keep running that as long as I possibly can. You always want to get the most out of the least, right? So I'm going to keep running that as long as I possibly can. Once they do start stalling a little bit, that's when, I'll actually implement cardio. And normally I'll do that around like week 4, week 6. And then what I'll do there is I'll implement about like 20 minutes and I'll start with 3 sessions. With the cardio, what I want to do here is I always want to make sure it's consistent. So when it comes down to it, I'll give them a set time, set incline, set speed that they're going to do with Stairmaster, set level. That way it's always the same. And the reason why I do that with cardio is because as you fatigue, as you get deeper into your fat loss phase, what ends up happening is you're more tired, you're having less food, your cardio is going to be higher. So the intensity of that cardio is going to drop if I just put Stairmaster, 30 minutes, right? So we want to keep everything super, super consistent. And if it's always the same thing, guess what? It's always going to be the same calories. So I'll implement that usually around week 4, week 6, and then I'll wait another few weeks, and then I'll see, where they're at. If they're moving smoothly again, cool, keep it going. If they start stalling again, I'm going to start paying attention to their biofeedback. So within every single client, they have a check-in. Within those check-ins, what I'm looking for is stress, energy, and hunger. So if stress is pretty low, we're good. If hunger is low, then we can draw from food. If you can see that hunger is creeping up pretty high immediately off that first drop, then what we could do there is we can actually increase cardio, right? People are going to be different. Some people enjoy doing cardio and they would rather do, 40, 45 minutes of cardio versus dropping food. Kudos, right? Like if you want to do that, it absolutely works, right? But, some people rather drop food than actually do more cardio. So that's the way I look at it. So that way what adjustment you have to make. If you're someone that just doesn't struggle with hunger, just keep dropping those calories. Like you're going to be okay. As long as you aren't having temptations, cravings, stuff like that, and stress isn't high, you're going to be totally fine. As far as like how low to get low on them, like I've seen people 14, 1500. It's very dependent. I wouldn't say there's like a place that you don't want to go. I think it depends. But you don't want to sit at low calories for a long time because it is stressful for the body. Beautiful. Cool. So I answered 6 questions right there. If you guys have more questions, make sure you follow me on Instagram. I'm going to be dropping the question box on there on Fridays. I can stack up these questions and I can answer them for you guys. Hopefully you guys were able to take a lot of value from this one. There's a lot of gems, and if you have to re-listen to it, it's going to be there for you guys. But other than that, hope you guys have an amazing rest of your Saturday. I'll catch you guys next time.